Well, good Thursday morning, everybody. It is May 27th, 2021, and we are starting chapter 17 in the book of Acts. We finished up 16 yesterday. Paul and Silas are journeying on, and they're going to be coming to Thessalonica today. And, of course, Thessalonians, 1st and 2nd Thessalonians, is written to this church. 1st Thessalonians is one of those basically undisputed letters that pretty much everybody believes Paul wrote, and it's believed to be one of the early letters, if not perhaps even the earliest letter of Paul's. Not the earliest of Paul's letters, not the earliest of all Scripture, or even in the New Testament for that matter. I think James and Jude are probably the earliest two letters personally. But at any rate, 2nd Thessalonica is one of the disputed letters, and there are probably a good many believe that that is a later letter. If it isn't, it is one of Paul's letters. It was written pretty quickly after 1st Thessalonians. If it's not, then God only knows when it was written. But at any rate, here we are heading into Thessalonica today. We are going to look at verses 1 to 9 in chapter 17 of Acts today. So let's just jump right in, shall we? After Paul and Silas had passed through Amphipolis and Apollonia, they came to Thessalonica, where there was a synagogue of the Jews. And Paul went in, as was his custom, and on 3 Sabbath days argued with them from the Scripture, explaining and proving that it was necessary for the Messiah to suffer and to rise from the dead, and saying, "This is the Messiah, Jesus, whom I am proclaiming to you." Some of them were persuaded and joined Paul and Silas, as did a great many of the devout Greeks, and not a few of the leading women. But the Jews became jealous, and with the help of some ruffians in the marketplace, they formed a mob and set the city in an uproar. While they were searching for Paul and Silas to bring them out to the assembly, they attacked Jason's house. When they could not find them, they dragged Jason and some believers before the city authorities, shouting, "These people who have been turning the world upside down have come here also, and Jason has entertained them as guests. They are all acting contrary to the decrees of the emperor, saying that there is another king named Jesus." The people and the city officials were disturbed when they heard this, and after they had taken bail from Jason and the others, they let them go. Excuse me. As I am wont to do, let's look at the end of this, and then we'll go back to the beginning. The charge there, of course, is that they are, the charge that actually has some teeth to it, let's put it that way, is that they're saying that they are basically, they have the cult of the emperor at that time, where you worship the emperor as being a god. And basically they're saying, look, they're setting up another king, another person to be worshipped as the god, and that's this Christ guy. That's the one that's going to cause some issues, if anything, because of the fact that the cult of the emperor, of course, is human. He's quite ego-driven, or he wouldn't be made it to the level of emperor. And so thus he is, that's not looked upon kindly at all. That's going to upset the emperor. You don't want to upset the emperor. The irony, great irony of all of this, and we could look at it in today's world as well, is that the people that are causing the rioting are the ones that are accusing Paul of causing rioting. They're the ones that have drummed up got the ruffians, and I mean that's basically what it means. And evil is another word for it. Evil men in the marketplace, and they formed a mob. So they've hired some thugs. Sound familiar? And have caused an uprising, and they have gone to Jason's home and dragged him before the magistrates, and then that's where they're making the false claim about him stirring things up. Paul's not trying to stir things up. The people are getting stirred up by what he says, but that's not necessarily his goal. His goal is to bring them to believe that Jesus is the Messiah, and that he is the way, the truth, and the life. And that's his goal. His goal is not to stir people up and get people into a frenzy. That's certainly, I don't believe, Paul's goal at all. With that, the interesting part is they've traveled through these 2 towns. They've come to Thessalonica, and for 3 Sabbath days, that means 3 weeks. That's not 3 days. I've heard people go, and for 3 days he argued, when they're doing commentary on this. It's 3 Sabbath days. That's 3 weeks. He argued with them from the scriptures, explaining and proving that it is necessary for the Messiah to suffer and to rise from the dead, and saying, this is the Messiah, Jesus, who I'm proclaiming to you. So we sometimes say that if you're not stirring things up, you're not really doing anything. Well, the goal isn't, again, the goal is not to stir people up. The goal is what Paul's doing here is using the scripture to prove that Jesus is the Messiah. That's what he's doing. Doesn't need to go and be a provocateur. That's not what he's about. He's about bringing people to Christ. If that stirs people up, so be it. And it will. But that's not the goal. That's not what it's trying to do. That's not the objective. If your objective to start off is to stir people up and to cause an uproar and to get people upset, that's not then you got your eye on your ego because you want to see how upset you can make people. The goal is to bring people to Christ. The goal is to explain to them, and what Paul's doing is he's using the Old Testament. It would be wonderful if we had bullet points of what Paul preached, because he's preaching the similar thing in all these synagogues. And we've got some of it, but we certainly don't have all of it. And he's bringing some of the Jews, he's bringing the God-fearers, and of course some of the leading women, and that's an interesting thing too. But these are the people that he's bringing over, and he's bringing them over by using the scripture to prove that Jesus is the Messiah. His goal is not to cause an uproar. His goal is to bring people to Christ. That should be our goal. We set our sights on Christ. We set our sights on bringing people to Christ. That is the goal. We don't go in trying to upset people, trying to cause a ruckus, trying to be a provocateur. That's not the goal. So, with that, let's make our goal today to speak the word to as many as we can, and to at any chance we have to witness to Christ. Talk to somebody about Jesus today. That's one of my old sayings. I haven't used that one for a while. I'm going to be a blessing to someone today. But you can combine the two, as I keep trying to do. Talk to somebody about Jesus today. Therefore, you're a blessing. Have a wonderful day, and it's a little bit of a rainy one. It sounds like it's going to rain all day, but hey, I guess that's good for the crops. Not so good for me trying to get my garden in between my breathing issues and the weather. Not doing too good in getting a garden in this year. Oh well. So, take care. Have a blessed day. We'll see you in the morning. Bye-bye.